going on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jokes podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. Yes, we're back with another week, another stream for you. Lots to talk about, or at least talking a lot about one thing. If you're going by the title, because the movie review at this point is kind of become a given. But in terms of
it's a staple of the live stream. It's the one that brings us our sanity. It brings us back to sanity, Andy.
Yeah, or at least makes us maybe a little bit palatable to people. Because not everyone wants to hear two guys sitting around like bitching about the state of the world. Although I will say that we do, I think for the most part, I think we do offer maybe strategies in how to manage stress or alleviate that stress. So I'll give us that.
I mean, yeah, it's all stuff that like upsets me, but at the end of the day, honestly, life is actually pretty damn good.
Yeah, I mean, to quote the great Obi-Wan Kenobi, it's all a matter of perspective.
Bingo.
We have, of course, the movie review, which again this month's theme is East versus West, and we have a good one actually.
Yeah, I have a lot to say about our.
We'll be reviewing the Japanese movie Rashomon, and the American counterpart, which is the Outrage.
Yeah, very. If you ever want to see Paul Newman play a Mexican, this is your movie.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, if you want to race bent Paul Newman, this is the movie for you. And he doesn't actually do a bad job. I mean, I think for the time that he made it, I think given the stereotypes, I think I would say he did a good job for the time period.
He's just kind of a quick note on that. He spent, I think, like 2 or 3 months in Mexico, kind of studying like some of the how Mexicans like kind of spoke English, kind of learning their accents,
right,
mannerisms, stuff like that. And so that's why I think it did come off as a great performance from Paul Newman, though. Well, we'll talk about that more.
By today's standards, it might be seen as offensive.
Well, I would just say it's. We'll get to that.
Yeah. Let's not. Yeah, I know. I hooked you a little bit with what I just said. So, I know. I have to be careful with you, Rob.
I am a.
Because you're like a big mouth bass, and you drop a spoon in front of you. You're gonna go for it.
Andy knows how to get me. I'm a huge movie nerd, especially because of this live stream. I've become a very huge movie nerd, and we have really, I think, we've barely scratched the surface in some places, and kind of gone really deep into some other holes in this grand search for great movies to watch.
Yeah, and I mean, I know we're still a relatively small channel and everything, but I want to, there's like these weird synchronicities that have been happening, like where some movie reviewers that I started watching or that I watch, they started they started reviewing like the movies that we've done, like some, it's. Yeah. It's not everyone. It's not like it's not like I believe that these bigger channels are watching us to get ideas for like what movies to review or nothing. But every once in a while, there's like after we do a review of a certain movie, I would notice that the other content creator would do the same movie and say, oh, okay, and then also another podcast that I watch that's more of like that does more of like the news like. Politics commentary sort of thing. they just started to do or incorporate a movie review also. So
I think that's that's kind of interesting. Maybe people are watching us and like kind of getting ideas and stuff. Which is, hey, if that's the case, I'm all for it. And the one thing
yeah,
I'd like to do, that I wanted to do with the movie reviews too, is because everyone's kind of talked about like a lot of the big stuff. Kind of the, oh, you got to watch The Godfather. Of course we've talked about that, of course. But I like to find movies that are a little bit off the beaten path a little bit that maybe nobody really thinks about or talks about, because I want people to watch them. I want people to talk about them, to think about them. And even like what hooked our friend Eric to like enjoying like our videos. And when we did our Stanley Kubrick month, yeah, we could have gone and just watched 2001. We could have talked about The Shining, like the very popular ones. But we went like really down a deep hole on that one. We watched Barry Lyndon. We
yeah,
watched
yeah, yeah. We definitely watched like the B side.
who the hell like who the hell goes out of the way to watch Barry Lyndon? I mean, I can't think of many people other than movie nerds that would do something like that.
Mhm.
Because it's long, it's a little slow, but it's still a great movie, and that's kind of
Yeah,
the
and I mean, yeah, and I appreciate Stanley Kubrick because he and I have something in common at because Stanley Kubrick started his career as a fashion photographer.
yep he did.
So like yeah, that's why if you look at his work, you could see like his like photographer's eye and how he like composes shots and how he dresses a scene.
Yeah,
Um,
and I think that's
yeah,
why
it's all in that photographer's eye.
yeah, and I think that's also kind of why like Kurosawa is so amazing too. We've been
Hmm.
talking about his movies this month
Hmm.
in this East versus West, and he kind of not necessarily that he was a fashion photographer, but he definitely has that kind of eye. He is the Kubrick of Japan, I would think.
Mm. Word, 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 word. But yeah, we got you have all that stuff uh, to look forward to. But before we get into the main agenda, let's what is it? Oh yeah, I was gonna ask you like how you're doing, Rob.
Honestly, I'm doing pretty damn well.
Yeah.
Let's see, well, I hung out with Santa Claus again this past week. Uh,
Mm-hmm. Nice.
we have inroads with Santa Claus.
I know.
He
Yes. Yeah. Us and Santa are like peas
Yeah,
and carrots.
and it's funny, like as I've been like working through like my backlog of movies that I have on my list.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I I talked with him, and I like came away with like 25 more that I need to watch. I'm like, yeah, it's like it just the backlog continues. It's kind of like my gaming backlog that always seems to kind of like keep going, keep
Mm-hmm.
growing for somehow. I probably will never finish the list. I'll be dead. But
Mm-hmm.
it's a fun challenge nonetheless. Um, My bowling alley is finally open again, so
Oh yeah, I was
I'm
just about to ask you that. Yeah. So like they're open.
open, and honestly, like uh, pretty much maskless, which was awesome. So
Nice.
everyone kind of just like, what, fuck this. It's like we're bowling, like we're not gonna wear the mask, kind of thing. There was a few people that did, and honestly, it's like, yeah, whatever, that's fine. I
Yeah, I
uh,
mean more power to you.
I was like,
Um,
yeah, well, if no one else is gonna wear it, fuck it, I'm not gonna wear it either. Um, So and it's been a year and a half.
Well, it's like the worry isn't so much people, but then also, I mean, at this point, I think it's like, are the businesses going to continue to require the mask? Because I don't know, like, if the proprietor of the bowling alley and like whether like what their position is on that. But I think going forward, I think that'll be the big thing. Whether businesses will continue to require it, and they'll kind of toss out the old refrains like, oh, well, I'm private business. I can do what I want.
Yeah. Well, and then I think what helps is our league is the late league on Thursday night. We're the
Mm-hmm.
Party Animals League.
Mm-hmm.
So wasn't really enforced super hard if you remember like was kind of
Okay.
even like the owner was
Would you say like the owner of the bowling alley, is a little bit more libertarian? Like, I mean,
yeah, I would say so.
he's like, like especially because it's late at night and like who's still up? No families are up, that late or whatever, and so
Oh
it's
no,
like,
yeah, there was no families there at all. It was
yeah.
pretty much it's a bunch of us, kind of younger ish people kind of hanging
Mm-hmm.
out and having a good time. So which is great. And I'm not going to say the name of the bowling alley because I don't
Yeah,
want
I was about to, but then I was like, maybe we shouldn't, give like, maybe we shouldn't say anything. Don't want to like give the owner any heat. So yeah, I quickly caught myself on that.
yeah,
But yeah, like I think,
it
yeah, but
was.
that's good.
And after not bowling for like a year and a half,
Mm-hmm.
I rolled off a 200 like right off the get go, which was I was kind of surprised. Like, well, I guess I haven't lost it, so
Nice. Yeah.
it's kind of like riding a bike.
Mm-hmm.
The next because I was setting my handicap for like the rest of the league or for the rest of the league, for the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like the next two games, I kind of just sandbagged a little bit, so that way it'll help us in the long run. But just knowing that I can roll off a 200 right off the bat, like that made me feel real good. Um,
Yeah, I bet it would, especially yeah. I mean, because like you said, like it's been a year since you, or a little bit more, maybe a little bit more than a year since you last played, and so
to be honest, I was like, dude, I don't even know if I can roll like 100 anymore. Like, it just like I felt like I
wow.
maybe had lost like an extra step or whatever.
Uh huh.
But no, I felt I was in the groove. Like I felt good. Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't like sore or anything. Like I kind of
Uh huh.
just was, felt good.
Nice. Man. Yeah, I remember one time I almost bowled a 200, and I felt amazing, but yeah, my usual average is it's like 120. So bad.
Hey, you know what? Honestly, that's better than a lot of people. Um, the only reason like I'm as good as I am is because I bowl so much. But like, there's still so many people that I'm like, man, like I can't even touch them. They're so good. It's
Right. Yeah, no, one of my friends, um he's been in a bowling league forever, and interestingly enough, I think he's actually been part of leagues at the your bowling alley.
oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. It was. I mean, I think it was like it was way back when, or not so way back then. Maybe like even like within the past like 6 7 years.
That's yeah, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, hey,
Um,
I like my bowling alley. It's a fun one.
mhm,
But what is it? I think if I bowled like every single day, like if I really
mhm.
like dedicated myself to bowling, like I think I could probably do pretty good. I don't know if maybe I'd be a pro, but I could be like, kind of like that next tier down.
Right. You like pro amateur.
Yeah, I would say like that'd be I think I could potentially get to that level.
Mm.
With bowling though, like, it's uh age really doesn't really matter all that much.
Yeah, I mean, in that way, it's kind of like golf. Like, it doesn't matter how old you are. You can just like kind of like
Yeah.
sometimes you can just pick up your bag and just you get right back into pun intended here, get back into the swing of things.
Yeah, if I had like a midlife crisis, I could pull a Carlton and like try to go bowling full
Oh
time.
yeah. If you got that reference, you're awesome and old. Uh,
Oh man, but yeah, no, the week's been pretty good. What else? I watched the new Tyler Sheridan movie that just came out last Friday.
oh, you did.
Unfortunately-
HBO Max.
yeah. It was really good.
Uh huh.
Uh, Definitely, compared to Wind River, it's
Uh
a
huh.
it's like a comedy. It's you know,
Is it a little bit more upbeat?
oh yeah, I mean, like I said, compared to Wind River, it's a comedy. It's great.
Yeah. Okay.
But it has Angelina Jolie. I haven't seen her in a movie in ages, and
Hmm.
she looks for her age, she looks great. She's
Hmm.
really good in the movie. John Barenthal, he's great in everything he's in.
Hmm.
Uh, that guy doesn't get enough credit. Like he's done a lot of TV stuff. He's done kind of like seemingly bit parts, but Taylor Sheridan just keeps using the guy, and he's really good.
Yeah. No. I think in a way, I think he's kind of like a Jeremy Renner, where it's like he's very talented, but he's very underrated.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's just underneath like Renner in that sense. Like
Hmm.
I almost put him on my list when we did our actors, but it just
Hmm.
I need to see him in a few more things before I can put him in that list.
Right, and I think it's interesting because they seem to be having, or they seem to have had like the same kind of career trajectory where there was a lot of big buzz early on for both of these actors, but interestingly enough, like I wouldn't like feel sorry for them because like both their careers are amazing. I mean, Jeremy
Oh,
Renner,
they've done a lot.
he got that Marvel gig, and and I think that's allowed him to be like really selective with his projects.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think, and similarly, John Bernthal, similar deal. He landed a sweet gig with, Marvel, playing the Punisher.
Oh, dude,
Um,
he's the best Punisher ever.
yeah, agreed. Although, yeah, I don't know, because Thomas Jane he's, I know people shit on that movie, but he was a really good Punisher.
Oh no, he didn't do bad. It wasn't the movie wasn't bad because of him. That
No,
goes
no, no. Of
more
course
to
not. Of
like
course not. I know. Like, I'm not saying that it's because of Thomas Jane, but yeah, I really liked his take on the Punisher.
I mean, I did too. I'm just saying that the version that John Barenthal did, I
Hmm.
feel is that's the type of Punisher that I like, and just because
Right. It was like
Barenthal
because it's
really,
slightly more like unhinged.
yeah, he really let loose in that role,
Hmm.
and I felt like it was. I mean, it was like it was great. I mean, he really is like the anti-hero. Like because in the Thomas Jane movie, it's like because the Punisher is like an anti-hero,
Hmm.
but in there, like I don't really see necessarily like the anti-hero, like the anti part of it. He is more of the hero. Yeah, he's doing it in an interesting way, but like it felt like you wanted him to like win, whereas when the this version of the Punisher was introduced, it's like he's kind of like the bad guy in some ways too. Like,
Well, yeah. I mean, if you take that one scene in Punisher where he has Daredevil chained to a wall, and like in the building that they're in, like the super comes up to check up on the noise, and he literally puts a gun to that super's head, completely
yeah,
innocent bystander, just for the sake of Daredevil's like, it's like, yeah, you move, I'm gonna kill this guy.
yeah,
And so yeah, I think yeah, and I think that yeah, and I think Bernthal's Punisher is more closely, I think, is more drawn from the comic books and comic books version of Punisher. And I mean, not that I'm a huge Punisher fan or like read like all the books, but in my research, like the Punisher is not like not like the typical anti-hero or like kind of like the loner with the heart of gold, which I think they are trying to make him into when they did the
yeah,
Punisher series, at least the second season, where they're
yeah.
trying to make him more like Wolverine.
That's
Um,
kind of like what I felt too, and it's just like, which is I didn't necessarily like that direction, but it was still
mhm.
good. It was still a good season.
Right.
I hope to see
Um,
him at some point again.
yeah, but like, yeah, I definitely wanted to see, like, yeah, like in the comic books, like he was really like an unhinged person. Like he didn't, he wanted to use violence. He didn't see it as like a last resort. He's like, that's he for him in the comic books. Like that's the only resort. And yeah, I wish they had explored that that version of the character. And
Yeah,
we got teased a little bit of it in the second season of Daredevil, but yeah, I wanted more.
I
Um,
agree. The guy is a great actor. I think I've liked pretty much everything he's been in. He's been really great. Um,
mm,
but yeah, it's been good. I've been watching some, trying to get like my wife interested in some like good older movies. She's still like, anything black and white is, that's out. Like, but it's, trying to get her to, so pretty much like the movies that that you and I watched together when we hung out this week. Those movies are out, but those movies are great.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, we kind of grew up on it. I mean, I remember I had like a small. I mean, small is a I use it, because the technology back then, small is a relative term. But I had like a small black and white TV that, that I had, that so that I could watch TV late at night or, on the weekends. And it was great. Like even like the TV shows that, were in color, but this particular set only came in black and white, but, I still enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Um, and just being a photo nerd, kind of cutting my teeth on black and white film. So I definitely have appreciation for black and white.
Oh yeah, me too. I love like the old black and white stuff, and I like it when people in modern day like create black and white movies too. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
find that
Hmm.
because it's because you can do it in color, but they choose not to.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Yeah, when it's in an art, what is it, artistic choice. Uh, yeah, I mean, I know. I realized back in the day, sometimes it was the more economic choice because people don't know this, but they don't realize this. But there was color photography like even back in what is it, World War II.
Yep.
That's why I don't know. Again, this is gonna date me, but there was those infomercials back in the day where they're like talking about, oh, World War II in color,
Oh yeah,
and it's like,
I love
and they would
watching it,
yeah,
and
they sold those VHS tapes with the color footage from the war.
yeah, and I
Um,
watched all that stuff too, which is that's
yeah, and so so people don't realize that. I mean, even back in like the 30s, like the Wizard of Oz, that was in color. Um,
I have to say, like, if I said it when we did our 1939 month, but I would have loved to have been in the audience like when that movie first came out, and
oh
because
right,
that
yeah,
there was a
like
lot of people
totally
that
getting
had never
tricked.
seen a color film,
Right,
and
and they
just to
get
be
and they get lulled into this false sense of security. It's like, oh, another black and white film, but then all of a sudden, color.
yeah, I mean, and really in color too, which is like that's the
Yeah, yeah. I mean, color that still holds up.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, yeah. Back in the day, sometimes it was more of a, going black and white was a financial decision because it was cheaper. Um, but yeah, I mean, every time whenever like a film does black and white for aesthetic purposes, I'm always for that.
I think it was now I'm thinking about like that month. I think the only movies that we did, Wizard of Oz is the only color movie that we watched from 1939.
Yeah, that
So I
sounds
think
about right.
black and white.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, that was my week. Week is good. I'm good. I'm working my ass off right now. I've been working like 6 days a week. I've been working on my off days, and I'm pretty much doing that the rest of the month, and probably into June as well. I'm just like after like 3 or 4 weeks of doing that, it does get a little bit exhausting.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we're a little bit short staffed because people are starting to get like the vaccine and not having like the best of. They're either like I think some people I know that I've talked to, like they haven't been having good reactions to it. Like they're
Mm-hmm.
kind of like when you get the flu shot, you get the flu kind of.
Yeah.
Uh, but then there's other people I think are also just kind of taking advantage of like, oh, they're gonna give me free time because I took the vaccine, so I'll just take the time. And
Yeah. I mean, there are those types of people.
oh yeah,
Um,
and so that's been happening. So we're kind of short staffed all around, and it is what it is. I'll take the extra money. I'm not really
right.
doing anything. So,
Mm.
um, you know, hopefully, I'll make enough money this month because there's a lot of gaming stuff that I want to buy.
Uh-huh.
Some new stuff that came out. There's some old stuff I want to buy.
Uh-huh.
Because what was the new thing that came out this past week was they remastered the Mass Effect video game series, which is a great sci-fi role-playing game where you
Mm-hmm.
play as Commander Shepard, and you're pretty much like traveling around to all these different planets and meeting all these interesting characters and all that stuff. And it has a little bit of Battlestar Galactica involved, has a little bit of um, Star Trek, a little bit of Star Wars, got a lot of like little cool stuff where it's definitely inspired by a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I know you're not a gamer, but I think this would be a game that you would actually enjoy just kind of like watching somebody play through. Like it's really exciting. It's a really great series.
Mm.
But, yeah, so that's been my week. How about you, Andy? Like, what? I know you've been pretty busy with like church stuff and a bunch of other stuff going on.
Um, yeah. Last week was probably the busiest I've been in a while. What is it? I mean, per usual, I had to, I accompanied my dad on a doctor's appointment. Um, everything seems to be okay. At least, that's what the doctor says. So,
That's good.
yeah, yeah. So, it was this cardiology appointment, and it's always hilarious because we always go there, and we wait for like at least 30 minutes to talk to see the doctor for about 5 minutes.
Yeah,
And,
that's the way it
you
always
know
is.
yeah, and I mean, if there's nothing anomalous on like, it's basically if there's nothing anomalous in like the vitals that they take or like the EKG, or particularly with the cardiologist, then it's like, oh, everything's good. All right, see you in 6 months. It's like,
Yeah.
okay.
Hey, you know
But
what? Honestly, like, yeah, it sucks to have to wait like that long, but it's good that it's only taking like, hey, you know what? Everything's good. See you later.
right,
It,
yeah. I mean, yeah, thank God for little blessings. And then also I kind of played chauffeur for my uncle. He asked me to take him on a doctor's appointment. I think my aunt wasn't able to, so he asked me, and so I had to pick him up in K Town and then drive him up all the way up to Valencia
yeah, oh
for
my
his
god.
doctor's appointment.
Hey, you're
uh,
like paratransit drivers, like taking all the old folks like to their doctor's appointments and like
yeah,
around.
yeah. I mean, it isn't my first time because yeah, I have a friend who's a paraplegic, and back in the day, I used to be like she actually when she went back to school. Right, this is before I went back to school, but she went back to school, and yeah, I she hired me to be her driver, and um, and eventually note taker. And it was pretty cool because I got to, and I was paid through the Department of Rehabilitation, a state run thing, which sucked because they don't pay you like, either bi-monthly or monthly. You turn in your timesheet and they pay you at the end. So like for what is it, like first semester, I wasn't being paid regularly. I had to wait until the end of the semester and then turn in all the timesheets and then get paid.
Oh, good God.
Yeah, it was fucking bullshit. Um, but I mean, I love my friend, so I sucked it up, but
Yeah. I mean, you would almost have to be like, oh, God, going through this, like, thank God you're my friend, because otherwise I would tell
I
you.
know, like if we weren't friends, I would quit. Um, yeah, because that's kind of ridiculous to think, like like someone working, you know, all that time and not being paid like regularly.
Did you
Um,
fudge the time sheets just a little bit?
what?
Did you fudge the time sheets a little bit just to fuck the government?
Of course, always, and always and
Okay,
always.
good man, good man.
You know, uh, but yeah, it was fine. Because I did my dad along, so getting to K Town like was really fast. Even at the time that I left, like around 8 o'clock, to go pick him up. So I was able to take the carpool lane, and then going up there, we're carpool lane, then coming back down carpool lane, and then after as a thank you, my uncle bought us lunch. Um, and so on the way back, because I had my dad with me, just carpool lane. Um, so it wasn't too terrible. And and then because and I have a really close relationship with my uncle, so it was always it's always good time. It's always good to spend time with him.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. Mobile shower. Um, yeah, it was good. Yeah, one of the longtime guests at the mobile shower, he's talking about like going out to our site specifically was like the highlight of his week. Um,
That's a great thing.
yeah, I
It's
mean, yeah, and, like he says, he genuinely looks forward to Wednesdays, because he hits up other places or other sites, but he says that that he really like genuinely looks forward to coming to our site. So
I think
that's all.
that's a good opening right there. That I think because he looks forward to it, like that guy is ready, almost ready for the gospel.
Yeah, no,
Guarantee it.
yeah, because he's a little bit skittish when it comes to uh, what is it, like the proselytizing.
Yeah.
So I don't really try. I just
No,
sit with him
but
and
the fact that he's like now comfortable and like looks forward to seeing you guys, that's
uh,
a that's a great sign
yeah, no,
because
no, no.
that's
There's
really
there have been some great signs prior too, because like even like during the when we were initially meeting outside in like that tent thing, he came out for a service, and in like the entire time, like he would always say like, oh yeah, no, I'm not really big on church and stuff, but it was like a year into doing the mobile shower at our church, and he actually came out, and yeah, he didn't like stick around too long, but he came out at least.
you know what that, he's not there yet, but
Yeah.
I think within very soon, I think there's going to be an opportunity for you guys to like really like not in like in a pushing way, but like
Mhm.
just to be able to like through you've been doing it through your service, and then
Mhm.
I think there's going to come a time where he's going to listen to what you have to say. I really do believe
Mm.
that.
Yeah, we're doing the Urkel method. Wearing them down. We're wearing
Yeah,
them down.
hey, that's Jesus does that sometimes. It's like it's like fuck, you wore me down.
Yeah. the night. It's like, Jesus, fuck, you wore me down.
Yeah.
Quote of the night. All right. Okay. Well, that was fun. That was good. Reminiscing. Let's get into the topic for tonight. And that is the dubious nature of one, Dr. Anthony Fauci and the Wuhan
The virology lab.
virology lab in China.
Well, so from what because now it's like, okay, well, welcome to the party, pals, because this is stuff that I was talking about, a year ago when
Mm-hmm.
when this stuff came out, or when we had the lockdowns and whatnot, and everyone's like, oh, it's this, it's that. It's just like, well, you have this virology lab that's been studying all this stuff. I'm not saying that it was released on purpose. I'm not going that direction, but it's a probably like pretty good, pretty good chance that like it was coming from that lab. They were testing stuff out. They were probably experimenting with stuff that they shouldn't be experimenting with.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, whatever. It's can't change that now. But
Well, yeah. I mean, because what is it? I forget which treaty it was, but like, yeah, messing with biological or biologics is a war crime.
Yeah, that goes back to World War One.
Yeah.
Called like the mustard
Yeah,
gas.
the mustard gas and yeah.
But so it's like, okay, yeah, it's clear. Like, I would say if I was to, I would put a lot of money that it came from this lab or one of these like labs,
Right.
which is but then for whatever reason, like after everything, there was a lot of other political upheaval, a lot of other stuff going on, so that story kind of went away and almost got buried to a degree. But now that we're coming out of it, people are starting.
There's a renewed interest in the origins of the virus.
Right, and now it's like you start to. There's been a lot around. Okay, where did this thing come from? And
Oh, did we lose you, Rob?
is communist government.
Wait,
That's obviously
back it up a bit.
Oh, what I'm saying is like, so now it's like we're trying to who is to blame?
Are you kidding me?
Are we out? Are we?
Oh no. Yeah, we're lagging just a little bit, but it's fine.
Okay. But did you hear what my last statement?
Back it up just a little bit.
What I was saying is that now that there's investigations going on and trying to figure out like where what happened, like why did this all happen? It's renewed interest again.
Mm-hmm.
And so and it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, where have these people been all year? Like, why haven't people like Dr. Fauci and like people involved with the WHO and the CDC and like whoever might be actually involved with this?
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out that and a lot of these three-letter acronym government
Yeah, the alphabet
institute,
groups.
yeah, the alphabet groups that are have a lot of money invested in like the research and technology that's going on in these virology labs
Mm-hmm.
with the Chinese government, and Fauci is part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And one of like the few actual senators that at least had. Yeah, I don't agree with everything that he has, but at least he's got a backbone. I'll give him that. Is Rand Paul, and finally,
Yeah.
he's quite he's been challenging
Yeah.
Dr. pretty much
Yeah,
every
and God bless Rand Paul because like because he's a doctor too.
yeah.
Um, so he out of everyone in Congress, he can at least kind of call Fauci out on his bullshit. Um,
God bless him for this too. 'Cause, after he got I'm not wearing this crap anymore, and so he stopped doing it.
oh, the mask, yeah.
So he's the guy's got a backbone. I'll give him that.
Right.
But the best thing is he's challenged Dr. Fauci at every opportunity he
Mm-hmm.
had, and now he's questioning him about like where the funding was coming from to this Wuhan virology lab,
Mm-hmm.
and like who's involved, because Fauci's kind of involved, and I don't know if it's necessarily, but he's involved at least in some way. And
Right. Yeah. Whether or
when
not it's
he's
like if he's personally involved or he just like signed off on the checks to go to China.
right,
He's a part of it.
and,
And that's the undeniable part. He's a part of it. Whether like to what degree, like did he know or did he participate? That's debatable. But it's not. It's undeniable that he is linked to it.
yeah, and that was kind of like the line of questioning. The best part is like Fauci, like the look on his face is like, "Oh, fuck you, pal." It's
Yeah,
kind of,
yeah, yeah. Just think of it. What is this? Iron Man 2. The Senator Stern character played by Gary Shandling.
yes,
Yeah, it's like fuck you, Mr. Stark. Fuck. It's like
yeah.
it's like,
That
but
didn't
it's just
get
like backwards.
in it, but God, that was the look that Fauci gave Rand Paul, because he could, the answer he gave was like, no, but yes, kind of in
Right.
his,
It's like no. It's like the NIH, did not, give the Wuhan virology lab the money. It's like, but if we did, it was for good reasons.
which means that they did,
Yeah, admitting that they did.
and it kind of makes sense because why there was so much backlash from the media and Fauci and all these people when Trump pulled out of the WHO, stopped funding the WHO, stopped giving
Mm-hmm.
them money. When there was a lot of this, like, oh, it's like talking about, it's like the virus coming from China, from
Mm-hmm.
Wuhan, all this stuff. When you now that like these is kind of like I said, it's the diehard line of like, "Welcome to the party, pal."
Mm-hmm.
Now that questions are finally being asked again, it makes sense. You go back and you look why there was so much vitriol over like all these actions and statements, and because you're hovering over the target. That's
Right.
why there was
Yeah.
anger and upheaval over
Mm-hmm.
things, because it they're right over like where they need to be.
Right. In a weird way, I mean, there's still some things that that I, that I do not approve of what Trump did, particularly at the end of his term. Um, but in a weird way, do you think that, you know, um, Trump didn't fire Fauci so that he could eventually be exposed?
God, I don't know if he was playing like that much.
Yeah,
Well,
I know it's a stretch, but every single time, like I would like initially react to something that Trump did, I would be like very pissed off, but then in the end, he'd be proven right.
that might be something where it's like he couldn't expose him in the moment, but but now like I think there might be these moments where if this comes out like where the truth is that where it's stated on the record where Fauci is exposed to have been, either through the NIH or through his own money
Hmm.
funding this research,
Right.
there's hell to pay. That's
Yeah, no, exactly. Because what would have happened if Trump fired him, like, when he still could have? It's like, okay, he would have gone underground. He probably would have gotten a job somewhere else, like outside the government, and then he would never be held accountable for what he had done. But Trump kept him in place. He kept pushing Fauci to the foreground. Uh, because other than you, me, and a certain segment of the gay population, people don't know who Fauci is. They
like
don't know like what he's done, like, or what he's been a part of in the past. I mean, particularly with like the whole AIDS epidemic, and all the things that he did to he, what is it? He delayed the release of like a treatment, and then he also
which he
he
also did
also
for COVID.
yeah,
It's
which he also did for COVID, and then he also, what is it? Allowed tainted AIDS blood to be part of the blood supply. So people who got transfusions, they became infected with AIDS.
not only gay people, but like the entire population got
Yeah,
fucked
yeah,
over.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So
The
yeah,
people that
yeah.
were, it's just he's been wrong on everything he's done.
Hmm.
Uh, he's the highest paid member in government. He's paid more than the president of the United States.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's
And
like, yeah, in a weird way, it's like he's setting him up. Like he's like, I think like Trump gave him the rope that he would eventually hang from. I don't know.
and the
I don't
thing
know if
is,
he actually. I don't know. But I don't know if he'll actually face justice. But you know,
he's
maybe in the
unaccountable to any voter. That's the thing. It's like these guys are there's no accountability whatsoever. Like it's not like we
hmm
can vote Dr. Fauci out of office.
right. Yeah. I mean, just think about it. Like he's like completely unaccountable to the public. He takes our money, but he's completely unaccountable to us.
It's like I mean, this is probably mostly Woodrow Wilson's fault.
Hmm.
Eventually, like I need to do some research into kind of like how we've gotten to this like bloated government the way we are. I mean, the clear answers are obviously like Wilson and LBJ. Uh, that really did a
FDR,
lot of damage. FDR, but
all Democrats.
all Democrats. But the thing is, like, what I would like to see, like, I'm a guy that likes to connect the dots. Like, where did like what was the catalyst that were there other parts of like legislation that happened or certain things that happened throughout the history of our country that led the road to someone like Woodrow Wilson really being able to create the damage that he did.
I'm sure there is.
I know, like what was it? And Owen Benjamin talked about this a little bit, like, and I kind of wish he had dived into this a little bit more, but I
Mhm.
know as Lincoln definitely had possibly some involvement in that, like, because he took a lot of power that he really didn't have, to be
Well,
honest.
yeah, yeah, exactly. What is it? He suppressed the press. He suspended habeas corpus. Um, um, he did. Yeah, he basically. Yeah, I mean,
Well, he's
Lincoln did a power grab, and
right.
he did it at a time where it was like a national emergency. Like they're separatists or secessionists. I should Star Wars.
Yeah,
But but yeah, it was secession was happening. There was like great like societal upheaval going on, and people, they kind of just wanted it all to stop. So, Lincoln came in and just kind of like took power. Um, but whether or not he gave it back up, I'm not 100% sure on.
Because the thing that he mentioned, from what I remember him mentioning, it's been a
Hmm.
while, so I don't know if he. I haven't listened to him in a while, so I don't know if he's like kind of gone back over this. But like, it was kind of the idea of like where you know, um, there's a lot of like maritime law that he really like that he had instituted. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of the problems that we have is probably because he didn't, it's like, oh, it's an emergency, like, we have to like do this and this for at this moment, but once that's ended, we're done with it. And the fact
Right.
is, like, when it was done, either because he was assassinated or because he just didn't want to do it,
Hmm.
it's still kind of an effect, because after he was killed, the Andrew Johnson, who was hated by everybody, that was, as far as like
And again, another Democrat.
yeah, as far as impeachments go, that was a guy that definitely deserved it and probably should have been kicked out of
Hmm.
office. But that's a whole nother thing. But um, but it's all that stuff leads up to this moment, like where we have these organizations that have no accountability to the voter,
Right.
that
The bureaucracy.
they're government organizations that have no accountability. They can do pretty much whatever they want, and they have
Hmm.
the rule of law behind them. Um, and it's you have these guys, you have the media, and these corporations that are kind of like they're doing like this pincer movement against the Constitution, and they're really destroying what this country is meant to be. It's kind of scary to see, and but
Yeah. I mean, I think that's why the founders, were specific in certain areas and vague or general in other areas. In terms of like, uh, you know, uh, like sovereignty, like, yeah, that's why we're allowed to, have guns.
yeah,
Um, and that's why we're granted the right of, privacy under the Fourth Amendment, and because like it's none of your business, like what I do, in my own house or what I do on my own property. Um, but I think and I think that's why they separated the powers, because you know they didn't come up with this idea out of nowhere. They studied all the great societies of this world, and like, okay, democracy, that sounds like a good idea. It's like, yeah, but it's like, it's basically the rule by mob, the tyranny of the majority. It's like, oh, okay, that sucks. Republic, oh yeah, great, yeah. It's like, but it's so open to corruption. It's like, yeah, true. And so that's why I think that's why they had to come up with like this hybridized system where they also they had to come up with the ideas of checks and balances, so that no one branch could seize total control. But they didn't they forgot one thing. It's and that's human element, and the human because the human weakness, it degrades all systems.
yeah. Well, and if you the way our government works now, I mean, it's essentially like the Congress does pretty much nothing. The House
Yeah,
of
literally.
Representatives and the Senate do jack shit for the most part.
Hmm.
Um, there are a few people that seem to be able to get some stuff done, but it's done pretty much nothing other than anything like that's. I know right now, like the big things are the it's kind of colloquially, I can't say that word, colloquially.
Colloquially.
Thank you. It's that what Andy said.
Yeah.
Um, being deemed the Corrupt Politicians Act, which is like HR1, that bill that's
Yeah.
going to be introduced.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a mistake.
The Equality Act, which is
Right.
also a piece of
Dude, they've been
garbage.
trying to push that since like the 70s.
Yeah. Oh well, they brought it back. That's the thing. They essentially
Right,
brought
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
which should
But it's
go
like the
away
one,
like
yeah.
and the 70s.
Hmm.
The whole Biden administration is bringing the 70s back. We're gonna have gas lines
Yeah,
soon.
no, like, yeah. There's countless what is it? News people, or like at least like independent news people that I follow, who are constantly calling this the Joe Carter administration. Because yeah, what is it, like massive like societal upheaval, gas shortages, America's diminished place in the world stage. That's Carter. That's all Carter. That's all earmarked Carter.
He's Jimmy Carter 2.0 with dementia.
Yeah.
It's funny too because he just did a like a media photo with Jimmy Carter and his wife.
Yeah.
Which the funny thing about Carter is he's kind of hid behind the whole like, oh, I'm just a peanut farmer, and I did Habitat for Humanity, which great things, but he's still kind of like a garbage person. Like like
Hmm.
his the way that he sees the world and the way that like his politics, they're all really it's garbage. Like he's actually
Mm.
not a good person.
Yeah. What is that? What is that line from TNG? Uh, be careful of wicked people that that cloak themselves in good deeds.
Oh yeah, Jimmy Carter is definitely that
Yeah,
character.
I believe that was from the Drumhead,
Yeah,
the episode The Drumhead, which is a great episode, highly recommended to everybody. I think it's very relevant.
I mean, this is the thing. Like obviously, like we're media. Like, as far as like movies and shows and books, they speak to a lot of like what's actually going on, and they're very relevant. Like we just watched I've seen it like a billion times, but like Andy just watched Ace in the Hole,
Hmm.
and God, that movie is like so relevant for today. It's ridiculous. We'll be kind of diving into that movie a little bit later on
Yeah,
in about a month or so. But it's
yeah.
God. I
On the
mean,
main podcast, well, we're using that movie as, or we're actually using three movies. But we're not gonna do it, like, we're not necessarily doing a review, but we're gonna use those movies as a springboard to talk about the actual topic, which is like media manipulation and um, kind of the denigration of what is colloquially known as the fourth estate, which is the media who is supposed to uh, what is it, speak truth to power,
yeah,
but now what they're doing is speaking lies uh, for their own benefit.
right. And that's kind of what's going on. And like I said, it goes all the way back to like kind of like what we're talking about, where it's you have this guy Fauci, who has been in government. He hasn't seen a patient in probably 40, 50 years.
Yeah, or
Uh,
done like clinical work, or as long either.
he's
What and is it? Was it Reagan, Bush Senior, Clinton, Bush Junior, Obama, uh, Trump? Now, that's seven presidents. He's lasted seven presidents.
Yeah, and he has fucked up on every possible like public health crisis. And the
Hmm.
guy is like, he keeps getting called on to like all these media platforms. I mean, God, my YouTube feed is like there's a whole section of it's not COVID. It's like it's Fauci. There's all these shows of like,
Yeah. And it's like,
oh,
yeah, people like I barely even know who they are, but it's like, oh yeah, interview with Dr. Fauci. It's like, who the fuck are you?
but
and
even like
and it's just a softball. It's just a softball interview. nothing to like hold him his head. It's like oh like Dr. Fauci, like if we were given the opportunity to interview Fauci, we would definitely hold his feet to the fire. Mine would be like Fauci, why did you say in the beginning of March that we didn't need masks, but in the middle of March of last year, you said that all of a sudden you changed your position. What changed in those 2 weeks?
I'd probably be talking to him. It's like, well, let's talk about the AIDS,
Yeah. Oh
epidemic.
yeah. Let's go. Yeah. Let's go
Like,
back to the greatest
it's like,
hits.
I forget COVID. Like, you fucked up on that. Like, let's talk about AIDS. Because you fucked up on that too.
Yeah. It's like why did you hold up the release of that treatment for AIDS? Like you hate gays.
Yeah. That's.
He probably does, but
Hey, you know what? Like, it would be hilarious. You know what interview I would love to see? Like, have him like be interviewed by Milo.
Oh yeah. That'd be amazing.
Milo is kind of like one of those like great trolls on the internet. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but he's a smart dude. Like, and God, like that would be an interesting interview. I'd have to say. Of course, Fauci doesn't have the backbone to like go on something like that, but it's just
no, of course not. He never go into enemy territory.
But it's great, the guy obviously like now that he's back in the because I don't really maybe I'd have to look back at like back in the past, like there's probably maybe some YouTube stuff like of him being on the news like while the AIDS epidemic was going on, but God, this guy loves being in the fucking it's like some of these politicians, like it's a dangerous place between a camera and Dr. Fauci.
Yeah. Do you hate gays? Oh, that'd be hilarious. It's like, how long have you hated the gays?
But yeah, it's just this is stuff that like now that like I said, from at the start of this topic, it's more of like where's everyone been though? Like it kind of infuriates me that like okay, I'm glad that people are finally asking the questions again, but it's like we've been like asking those questions from the very beginning, and you have another thing that people don't realize, like a guy like Stephen Molyneux, who was also asking these questions from the very beginning, and that guy was talking to people that were in. They not only they had firsthand knowledge of what was actually going on in China and like Hong Kong. I mean, he was talking to people from Hong Kong, but they're involved too because they're not in Wuhan, but they're close enough to know exactly what's going on.
Right, they were in the system. They're a part of the system.
They were part of the system, and they knew kind of like what they're on. They're in ground zero essentially, almost. And that guy was not that long afterwards kicked off of Twitter and YouTube because I guarantee it was because of that. It's kind of the same reason why a lot of those videos from like that like panel of like doctors from that were it's not just from like the medical institute of like San Juan or whatever crazy medical school. No, these guys were from like Harvard and Princeton and like these supposedly great institutions that people respect, talking about, and they just had alternate like ideas of like what's actually going on with COVID and stuff like that. Those videos are like they are anathema. They're gone. It's just they are cast into the memory hole, and it's the same thing that happened with Stephen Molyneux. He was cast into the into the ether because he was talking to people that were in the know that went against the WHO and CDC and all these places because they knew exactly what the fuck was going on. And that's the thing. It's like now, I don't. And now we have these politicians who are great. They're coming at it like a year too late, question guys like Dr. Fauci, who has fundamentally changed our country in a lot of ways. People are like, "Oh yeah, Dr. Fauci said this, so we gotta mask up, we gotta double mask, we gotta do all this." It's like, no, stop listening to this guy. This guy's been wrong on everything for 50
Yeah,
years.
I mean, yeah, the guy that's what is it? Don't ever trust a guy that speaks out of both sides of his mouth. I mean, he's literally had every position on this from the beginning. He's like, don't wear masks, wear masks. What else? I mean, eventually he got to wear. Oh yeah, wear two masks. It's only common sense. If it's so common sense, why didn't you tell us to wear two masks at the very beginning? You know,
Right.
oh, it's like, oh yeah, it's like, oh, I told you that you didn't need to wear a mask because I wanted, we're trying to keep as much of the PPE for the healthcare workers. It's like, oh, I'm actually coming up with these, I'm actually coming up with these numbers, on the daily, and
Yeah.
as they're coming in, it's like, oh, so you're just making shit up. It's like, I wouldn't say that, I wouldn't say that. I'm just coming up with numbers as they're coming in. It's like, it's like, it's like you can't be wrong if you take in every position.
Oh yeah, and it's insane. It infuriates me. It's like, come on, like like you
Yeah.
said, it's like, welcome to the party, pal. I mean, it's like, seriously, like
Mm-hmm.
we've
Yeah, and I
been.
mean, like even now with like I mean, now like people are taking like the CDC seriously. Before it's like, oh no, it doesn't matter what the CDC says; it's what the WHO says. But now it's like now that again, it's like, oh now what is it? Yeah, it's like now that we care about what the CDC says, and like the CDC says, oh, it's like, oh, it's okay if you got vaccinated to not wear your mask outside. It's like the first thing I would ask is like, you're wearing your mask outside?
You're an idiot.
Yeah, because I thought like the whole thing was like ventilation, and so like if you're in, you could, you should wear your mask outside. But it's like, that's like one of the things I would tell people. Like I saw that they're wearing masks outside, and they're like kind of not giving me like necessarily a hard time, but they were asking me why I wasn't wearing one. And I just tell them if a microscopic virus can go against a 5 mile an hour headwind to cram itself into my nose, then I deserve to get sick.
I'm ready to die at that point. Like, if that's what's
Yeah,
gonna come.
I did. Yeah, like they are the yeah. If a microscopic virus can go against a 5 mile an hour headwind to find its way up into my nose, then that is the new apex. That is the new dominant species in this planet, and I welcome our new microscopic overlords.
Yeah, it's like, I almost understood. Like, okay, we're in a crowded place indoors. Kind of okay. Yeah. Okay. Whatever. Like, that almost makes sense. As
Right.
much as I hated like wearing it like then, because I really
Hmm.
didn't. Because I really did. But yeah, outdoors, if you're wearing a mask, you're a fucking idiot. And the idea of like, people alone in their car still wearing their mask, it's like, you're an idiot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but then it's now been revealed though that it was never about health or wellness or safety. It was just about being superior. I mean, I don't know if you saw it, but like all of the clip of Rachel Maddow, basically, vomiting out her neuroses, talking about like, oh yeah, like yeah, I mean now like I have to rewire my brain to like not see people, to not think people without masks are are dangerous or COVID deniers or da 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 or awful human beings, or being selfish, and it's like, so
Thank God, like, my work is like, I think because we stopped like, well, I never enforced it, but like,
mhm.
if somebody like came into like, because I sometimes I work the front counter. Like, if someone came in without their mask, like, I don't give a shit. Like, well, I'm not gonna say anything. But it technically, we were supposed to enforce the mask wearing. I was like,
Mhm.
I was just like, if no one else was there and if they were coming in, like, it's like, just come on, don't, just let's go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
But
Yeah,
now
I mean,
we
yeah,
stopped
like I
enforcing.
every time I go into a gas station, I never wear a mask, and I've never gotten like hassled. Well, particularly the one that like I usually go to, but then even like at other ones, they'll just say like, it's like, oh, sir, could you wear a mask? I was like, it's like, it's like no, and it's like, yeah, it's like like 20 on number three, and it's like hand in my money and just walk out.
Well, I mean, it's like we finally stopped enforcing the mask wearing for customers, and
Mm-hmm.
I think like finally they're gonna stop like forcing us to wear them.
Mm-hmm.
Which thank God, because it's especially like when like some of those like 14-hour shifts that I have. I'm like I can't do
Oh
it.
yeah, screw that noise.
And
But
the
yeah, I
thing
mean,
is,
I
like, I've been wondering like because I've been like more tired than normal. I guarantee it's because of that goddamn mask because I can't. It's like I can't breathe.
No, of course not. And I mean, there's that saying that what is it? Dogs and bees can smell fear, but it's not necessarily they smell like there's like some unique particle in your breath. That it's what is it? Carbon dioxide. That's what they're smelling. And the more you put out of it, then it triggers the prey response, which
Right.
causes them to go after you. So like if you imagine that and you have something that over your mouth and nose and like it's like you don't it doesn't get dispelled into the atmosphere, but it goes back into your body. Even like I mean I know like the masker is still allows things to go out, but like you're still allowing a lot of stuff to remain within the proximity of your nose and mouth, and then you breathe that stuff back in. What damage is that doing? And I mean just recently, like last month, what is it there was a Stanford like peer reviewed study that again like not the NIH but a similar alphabet group put out saying that the harm caused by mask wearing is greater than not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
And so again, stuff that I knew when I was telling people way back when, but they were just calling me a science denier or whatever.
Yeah. It's crazy, like what's actually going on, dude. It's
Yeah,
just
but I mean, just to point to the craziness that is Rachel Maddow saying like, oh, I have to retrain my brain to not view people without masks as as threats. It's like you're a fucking crazy person. Like I didn't I never saw
was,
anyone with a
but
mask
that's
on as an idiot. I never thought seeing someone wearing okay, maybe I did think the ones in the car, yes, idiots. But like I never thought anything bad about people who wore masks generally. You
right.
know, I never thought them like as idiots or lesser beings or or morally inferior to myself.
Because you would occasion especially like when you would see like some media stuff over in like Asia, you would occasionally see some people like wearing a mask or whatever. And it's
Hmm.
like, oh, like is it because of SARS or whatnot, or you would occasionally even see here like occasionally when like someone from like Asia, like I know like because obviously I've grown up around the Korean community. Like there was occasionally people that would wear masks, and it's like usually they had like the flu or whatever, so they don't want to pass it or whatnot. Um,
Right, and here's the thing that people like tend to forget. And they always point to like Asian countries, like oh, well, Japan or Korea or whatever. It's like yeah, but those people like they themselves are sick. Like they know that they're sick. They know that they have the cold or the flu or whatever, and they themselves are putting it on. They themselves are taking on the onus or doing the courteous thing, to make sure that it only stays within them. It
bingo.
it
Yeah,
it isn't a thing where it's like they're afraid of someone else having it that that they can catch it. It's like no, no, no. They know that they're sick. They know that they have the sickness, and so that they're doing a courtesy thing and making sure that it only stays within them.
bingo.
And that's what's being lost on the what is it? People in the West where it's like oh well like like Japanese people wear masks. It's like because they know they're sick. It's not for them to prevent. It's not them wearing it to prevent themselves from getting sick. They know that they're sick. They're trying to prevent other people from getting sick. So
Exactly.
yeah, just like the yeah. So our like so the people like people in the West, yeah, their whole understanding of why Asians wear masks is completely skewed.
Mainly what we're saying is Dr. Fauci sucks, and he's probably involved with all this stuff, which is like
Mm-hmm.
why a lot of this stuff was like suppressed and why there was so much, uproar over, this past year against like anything that like Trump said about anything
Mm-hmm.
concerning like WHO and all that. It's because there was money invested, and it's like, and it's all a deflection.
Yeah.
And thankfully,
Yeah.
we at least have a couple of people with a backbone, like Rand Paul,
Mm-hmm.
who's still like challenging Fauci.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what I'll take what I can get. I'll take what I can
Yeah.
get. And I hope that this guy is exposed, and maybe eventually, like when we have it's not gonna happen with like Biden Harris, but maybe like when we have a reasonable president, like this guy will be exposed, and then he'll be fired or God for maybe imprisoned, or like at least so, there's some sort of penalty for like what he's done.
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I think right now we're at this.
But I can hope.
Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite movies is, at least in the Marvel genre, is Captain America: Civil War, and in that, you find out that the Shield, the good guys, have been infiltrated by the bad guys, Hydra.
Yeah.
Um, and I think right now we're still in that phase where it's Hydra is being revealed. We haven't got to the end part where everyone like kind of gets their comeuppance and like they get like all the secret Hydra agents that get exposed and then are arrested and things like that. We're not there yet. We're at the part where like we're still at the reveal.
You mean Winter Soldier?
Yeah. What did I say?
You said Civil War.
God damn it! I meant Winter Soldier.
Which
That's my
is a
favorite.
great fucking movie.
Yeah, it's a great fucking movie.
It's not just yeah, it's a great superhero movie, but God, it has so many great like elements. It just that movie's gonna last the test of time. It's really fucking good.
Yeah. But yes, Winter Soldier. Yeah, we're at right now. We're at the part where like Hydra's being revealed, or Hydra's being revealed. I think we still have a little bit of ways to go till everyone gets their comeuppance.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
But yeah, but kind of like how I hinted at the beginning. But I think the next big fight, or at least in the immediate or the cultural, will be fighting against even after the state mandates go away, the businesses still implementing their own mask requirements.
I think we're seeing at least some decent progress statewide, in some states. I know Florida has issued something where like that you can't they're using government power for good, for God, for once, to where like local businesses aren't like they will not be, if people want to wear masks, fine, but like you can't like force someone to wear one.
Right.
um, I think Texas is, I think, following
Following
suit.
suit. Yeah.
And I think and because those two, I think we're going to see a few other states probably start to follow through. God help us. I don't know about California. I mean,
Right. Well, all I gotta say is thank God that there's a recall going on because Gavin Newsom is rolling back shit faster than
dude, that guy is bribing us like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think just last week there was an interview that he gave, And I think he did say that he was gonna roll back the mandate, the mask mandate as well.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah, I mean,
that's
I gotta find that clip again, but because I think a reporter was asking him about like, oh, is it gonna be open? It's like, and I think he said like, yeah, no, like no more mandates.
God. I mean, he knows that he's
Yeah,
fucked.
yeah, and it was on the record too. So if he ever wants to like say like, oh, I never said that, it's like, bring it up.
Yeah. And that's the thing is that you got to keep bringing like when people say stuff and they say like, "Oh, I never said that," or it's like, it's I'm all for like, hey, if you change your mind, that's something else. If you can say
Hmm.
like, hey, like yes, I did say this, but over the course of time, like looking at stuff, I changed my mind and I'm kind of like more this direction. Even if I don't agree with it, it's like okay, I can. You're a human, okay, I accept that, but don't fucking say that. Like, oh, I never said that. Okay, let's play the clip.
I know, roll
Survey
like, roll
says,
that beautiful bean footage.
yeah, survey says.
It's like full of shit. But
It's always bullshit, Andy. It's always bullshit.
it's all full of shit. Yeah, but like, yeah, seriously, thank God that Gavin Newsom's, under threat of recall. Because imagine if we weren't, like, how bad things still could be. Like,
He would be in a run and gun fight for shittiest state government like with like New York and like Michigan.
yeah, true story. Yeah, I think like yeah, I think Whitmer just like she did something recently. Uh,
She she's,
well,
she's
it's hilarious though because she had her own kind of French Laundry moment recently. It was had to deal with like travel and like she went to Florida to go see her dad, but I think it was at the
bingo.
time.
Yep.
Yeah, but I was at the time
Fine.
that
Yeah, and that's the thing is like I don't fault you for doing that. You're being human. But the fact that you are barring other people from the state, like from seeing their loved ones, fuck
yeah,
you.
so yeah,
It's
sometimes
like
like sometimes intrastate too, intrastate, like
yeah,
within your state. Um, but this bitch, like, yeah, she even used a private plane owned by like some billionaire or something to go down there,
yeah.
and she didn't utilize the security detail offered to extended to all visiting heads of state uh, in America.
Well, and that was the problem. Like too, like on a personal level, that's been a problem that I've had because my grandmother passed away this year
Hmm.
from Alzheimer's, and my mom would she loved my grandfather not so much, but like my grandmother she really like she really loved and like and um the fact that like she couldn't even go to the funeral, but she would have gone, but the reason she couldn't go is because of the stupid like if you travel to New York you had to have the 2-week quarantine and then because California kind of had the same thing, so she would have missed a month of work just to be able to go to that funeral. It's like I can't, it's not that she couldn't afford it, but it's like I can't do that. Like I'm not gonna stay in some like, and it's not like you get to go home. No, you're
Uh
in
huh.
a like a government quarantine that you have to stay in for 2 weeks.
Mm.
Like, I can't do that.
I think we pissed off YouTube because they just shut down our stream. I mean, we're still streaming, but the playback isn't coming in.
Probably
It says
because
an error occurred. Please try again later.
fuck's sake.
I mean, we're still live. I mean, we're technically still. uh,
For God's sakes. But that's
I mean, we're
exactly
still
like
recording. We could always post the recording up. I'm gonna take a picture of this. This is hilarious. Capture,
how small are we
capture.
and like
I know, seriously,
how
we're nobodies. We're literal nobodies.
You know what? That's a badge of honor.
I know, seriously, seriously, it is. Like as small as we are, like we're like we like it says we have like one concurrent viewer, but that's probably the playback on my computer right now.
Good lord. But yeah, like my mom couldn't go to like my grandmother's funeral, and I
Uh
couldn't
huh.
go to my grandmother's funeral because of the stupid COVID shit.
Right.
Ridiculous.
Ridiculous. Yeah, and I mean, it's not necessarily having anything to do with government policy. But yeah, my aunt passed away as well, and kind of similar to you, like Alzheimer's related, but then kind of COVID related because she did get it, but then she did beat it, but then she just couldn't recover. But she also had Alzheimer's, so you know. But yeah,
Yeah,
she
my
like
grandmother didn't die of COVID. She died of Alzheimer's. Like I mean, that was because she had that before. All she's had this for years.
mm-hmm,
That's really. I mean, that's what she died of. Even if she like even had COVID, it's like she didn't die of it. She died with it. Which is a
mm-hmm.
completely different problem. But then again, like the deaths were being manipulated. It's like where you'd have gunshot victims or car accident victims that were like, oh, they died of COVID. It's like, no, they didn't. They died of this. It's,
Right, yeah, like the guy that was killed, that guy that was killed in a motorcycle accident, and then like they put it down as his death as COVID.
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like thank God for like places like the Babylon Bee. It's like guy jumps out of airplane without parachute, dies of COVID. It's
Right, yeah, yeah. But what is it? Yeah, my aunt passed away like in late January, and we didn't have her funeral until about early March or late February.
God damn, dude.
Yeah, it was just like it's supposedly because of all the deaths. Yeah, like my cousins, they weren't even able to have a meeting with the funeral the funeral parlor until early February. So
Jeez.
yeah, or mid February. Um, and again, they I refreshed the page and it was going for a little bit, but then I got the error message.
We went it's what because we spoke against the secular pontiff, Dr. Fauci.
Right? Yes, that's all it was. We said Fauci too many times. We invoked his name too many times. Oh well.
It is what it is. Badge of
It is
honor.
what it is. Badge of honor. Look at that, folks. As small of a channel as we are, they still feared us. Or I take that as a win. All right. Anyways, I think that's all I got to say about that for
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
So
We had another topic, but I don't know. Like maybe we should just because we spent a little bit more time on that than I thought.
mhm.
Should we just get to the movie review, or do we want to
Yeah,
do we
yeah.
want
I
to talk
mean, that was
about the
literally the only topic mentioned in the title. So, or at least like the
I'm fine with that. We can because the other
yeah,
thing is like we can kind of use next week or like another week. It's not necessarily time sensitive. Like
yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly. All right, let's get into the movie review. Tonight, as you know, this month's theme is East versus West, uh, or maybe we should correctly title, name it as Akira Kurosawa versus everybody else.
yeah,
Um,
it really is.
it really is. But yeah, tonight we'll be reviewing both Rashomon and the American counterpart or equivalent, the Outrage. Again, let me read out
You give the
the
synopsis. I'm gonna use the bathroom and I'll come right back.
All right. All right. Rashomon. Brimming with action while incisively examining the nature of truth, Rashomon is perhaps the finest film ever to investigate the philosophy of justice. Through an ingenious use of camera and flashbacks, Kurosawa reveals the complexities of human nature as four people recount different versions of the story of a man's murder and the rape of his wife. That is accurate synopsis. And here's that was for Rashomon, and here's the synopsis for the Outrage. At a disused railway station, three men, a con artist, a preacher, and a prospector, discuss the recent trial and sentencing of the outlaw Juan uh, Carrasco for the murder of a man and the rape of his wife. In their recounting, the three explore the conflicting testimonies of the parties involved in the crimes. Disconcerting new questions arise with each which disconcerting new questions arise with each different version of the event.
Pretty much, the movies, because
Yeah.
the Outrage is it's almost a shot for shot remake of Rashomon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just say right off the bat, Rashomon is 1,000 times better than the Outrage. Um,
Agree.
it's I think don't get me wrong. I love Paul Newman. Paul Newman is a great actor. I
Mm-hmm.
actually think he did a great job in the Outrage. But Koji Mifune acted circles around him in this. If I was gonna say, because we're with this shot for shot, almost character for character.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Most of the Japanese actors acted circles around the American equivalent, outside of
Mm-hmm.
maybe um, the panhandler slash con man
Uh-huh.
character. People that were talking. The guy that was listening to the story from the priest and
And
the
the
other
woodcutter.
character. That character was played by Edward G. Robinson in the American one. That
Mm-hmm.
guy stole the show because Edward G. Robinson
Oh yeah.
was brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's kind of and the guy is a character actor. He usually plays a lot of minor roles, but
Mm-hmm.
in the Outrage, that guy outshined his Japanese counterpart.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of the movie, though, the Japanese actors really did a superb job. And don't get me
Right.
wrong, I love William Shatner.
Yeah.
I
Hold
like
on. I got. I guess it's my turn to use the restroom.
okay, but I'll say yeah, the Japanese actors really acted circles around these guys, and the thing that I found, I was trying to find like when we were doing this initially, the East versus West month, the theme month, we were only going to do three events, but because we moved it to a later date, we decided to add one more, and because I found that the outlets was a remake of Rashomon. But for whatever reason, I couldn't find any information about why the outrage was made. In the last week's movie with the Manchester Seven, it wasn't like there was an actor that was like wow by the movie where it's like the actor was to the left. There wasn't some story behind it. It was just an early remake. And, it's obviously it's not they made it into a western movie, but this is a movie where definitely Kurosawa did it way better. Um, the acting was superb. The To me, like everything felt more natural in Rashomon as opposed to the Outrage. And, and that to me that goes down to the writing. The acting, it felt way more natural and much more dramatic than with the American equivalent, which Andy and I watched together. We watched the Outrage together,
Hmm.
and I mean, there were some good moments. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Paul Paul Newman is a Mexican, um, which, to be honest, to me doesn't make a whole lot of sense because especially because Martin Ritt was the director of this movie, and Martin Ritt and Paul Newman have worked together. They did the movie HUD, and several other movies, I believe. And HUD, Paul Newman was a white guy who was a great bad guy. He was a fucking dick, and they could have
Hmm.
done the thing with the Outrage and not made him a Mexican, but for
Hmm.
whatever reason, like, it's kind of like, the some of, like, the classic Western trope, I guess, where, it's like, it's the Americans versus the Mexicans. We see that in Seven Samurai because Eli Wallach in the Magnificent Seven, who's a Jew, he's not Mexican, but
Yep.
he does play a great Mexican because he does
Hmm.
the same thing in The Good, Bad, and the Ugly, and he's great in that movie too.
Hmm.
And I'm not saying that Paul Newman did a bad job, but I think, like, if he had just played a regular, like, kind of like bandit, as white bandit, I think it would have been just fine because the character that he was kind of um, that he was mirroring, obviously, like, we have Paul Newman as Carrasco, but
Hmm.
Tojimaro from Rashomon, he's Japanese, just like, yeah, he's a bandit, but he's Japanese, just like the man and the woman in Rashomon. He's not
Hmm.
like other, like, he's not. It's not like he's a Korean or a Chinese person.
True.
You could have done it just like that, and
Hmm.
made him like a Jesse James, or like kind of like some other, like, bandit from, like, the West.
Right.
Um, so to me, it felt like unnecessary for them to have done that.
Yeah, I'd agree
Now,
with you on
I
that.
will say that Paul Newman did a great job in playing that character
Right, right,
because
right, right. But
Paul
it wasn't
Newman.
necessary. It wasn't necessary for him to be playing Mexican.
Now, but I said
Um.
Paul Newman is pretty method.
Hmm.
Not necessarily like in, like, the Christian Bale method actors
Hmm.
school, but the
Right.
guy does get into character a lot, and he
Uh huh.
spent, like, several months in Mexico and kind of, like, learning the accent and um, trying to get it just right for the role.
Hmm.
And the reason the reason I found out he was so method is I mentioned the movie HUD that he was in that I just watched over Mother's Day,
Hmm.
and he was. I watched kind of some stuff on that movie, and uh, when dealing with, like, some of the other actors who didn't know that he was, like, kind of, method actors tend to get in the character and then stay in character the entire time that
Right.
the movie is going
Mhm.
on.
Right. Right. Even during like uh the downtime or whatever, they still want to be referred to like as their character's name, and like they'll speak as the character. Um. Yeah, and I think at the time, uh, I saw this interview of Patton Oswalt, and
Uh-huh.
he was recounting an anecdote from when he was worked with Wesley Snipes on Blade, and and he talked about how Wesley only wanted to be referred to as Blade on set, and at the time
Christ.
I thought that and I think it was meant to be understood as oh, Wesley Snipes is like a crazy dick, or megalomaniac. Like, well, maybe he was just being method, and he didn't want, and he wanted to stay in character as much as possible.
I can't. If that's the case, it's like he wanted to always be, like, known as Simon Phoenix during Demolition Man, which would be fucking awesome. Yeah. But in this case, like, because in the filming of HUD, Paul
Uh-huh.
Newman was kind of when the female lead, technically,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I guess in the movie HUD, I forget her real name, but her character's name was Alma, and
Uh-huh.
there was like a lot of tension, sexual tension slash like real tension between the two.
Uh-huh.
Um, and when she was going through like a lot of personal stuff,
Mm-hmm.
she was trying to tell, like, she obviously, like, her and Paul Newman had a lot of scenes together.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, there's a lot of downtime, so she was telling him like a lot about like her life. They got close. Trying to get close to him,
Mm-hmm.
and Paul Newman, like, because he's a method actor, he's like tough. It's like kind of being a fucking asshole to her. It's like, but
Ah, okay.
Well, because, like, and they ended up actually becoming friends after the movie because he's like,
Uh-huh.
I was just doing this, kind of like staying in character, but they ended up
Mm-hmm.
becoming friends afterwards, which is good. But yeah, so I had to imagine that, like, when Paul Newman was doing this movie, like, how long was he in this Carrasco, kind of like role. It's
Mm-hmm.
like trying to really like hone in that accent. And to be honest, he did a great fucking job. Like, had I never seen Paul Newman in anything, and I
Mm-hmm.
just watched Outrage, I may have thought that he was Mexican because it's black and white, so obviously, like,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
we don't see his, like, shining blue eyes, or like,
Right.
necessarily that he has a tan or not.
Mm-hmm.
So I might have thought that he was Mexican.
Right. I mean, maybe it's because I have a better ear for accents. Yeah, there are some parts where, like, sometimes like the accent would like slip into something else, like, like French or some other
That
like European accent.
even like the woman and the man who were like the what's the female? I forgot her real name, but the
Oh,
female character, she her southern accent like came and went too. Like, it
yeah,
was really
Claire
bad.
Bloom.
Claire Bloom, thank you. Yeah, her southern accent came and went. Yeah, as the movie went too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
uh, what are some of your, well, first of all, like, what are some of your thoughts on the movies? And like, I'm really curious because we only watched the Outrage together. We haven't talked about Rashomon at all.
Uh-huh.
What are some of your thoughts, Andy?
Um, yeah, I really liked Rashomon. What is it? When you had mentioned, because in the outrage there was that scene with like the shaman who was like channeling the dead husband's spirit and like
Yeah,
giving the testimony.
the Indian
You
medicine
were you were right when you said that it, like, culturally it would have made more sense in Rashomon, and you're right. Um, like when they use like the medium to again.
it was a way more powerful scene in the Japanese
Yes. You're yes. Yeah, because when we watched the outrage together, I was like, I noted, like, as primitive as some people might think, like, the justice system was in America, like back around that time, or that time period that the movie is set in. There's no way they would allow, a shaman or like a psychic medium to come in and like give testimony on behalf of a dead person.
Yeah, exactly. It's ridiculous in that setting.
Yeah, like, even for as crazy as it sounds, like, for here
It's
and
set
now.
in the 1870s.
Yeah, that was like in the 1870s, so it's like, I'm sure, like, it was just as crazy for them to allow that then. So
Right.
yeah, but you were right that it made more sense in the Japanese version. So
Yeah, it was like I said, not only because, like, yeah, it was set in like 16th century Japan, but like
hmm
it's that, like, even today, that whole the idea of kind of like the shaman and like kind of the shamanism and all this stuff, that's really ingrained in Japanese culture even
hmm
today. Whereas, like, it's not like, I'm not sure it would necessarily be in the court of law in Japan today,
uh
but the idea that someone could channel the spirit of someone that's not like it's not out of the realm of possibility for a Japanese person today. You know, it's like
Mm.
there is kind of that level of like it's like, oh yeah, I mean that's it's possible. Um, and definitely back then, 100% sure that you know that someone like that would have been taken very seriously in a court of law back
Uh-huh.
then.
Mm. Yeah. Um, one thing I liked better was in the outrage versus Rashomon was the relationship between the man and his wife. Um, I don't know. Maybe it's because I grew up in the West, but I like the
I,
idea. I like the idea of like that they weren't like this perfect couple, and like the wife was like this cheating floozy, and like but then the husband knew about it, and just and for some reason, like for whatever reason, he put up with it. But like at this moment, he decides that it's like, yeah, bitch, I know you're a hoe. I know you a hoe. So like stop putting on airs like you're like this great dignified lady. That small aspect to the story I like better in the outrage versus Rashomon. Um, because in Rashomon, they made the husband seem like as though he was like henpecked, uh, but like he didn't give it back to the wife. Like I know that I don't think that they made her out to be a floozy necessarily. Like with the history, like
yeah, it
she
was
she
more
definitely
of
seemed like
like
the wife in the Rashomon definitely seemed as though like she was in like this kind of loveless marriage where it's like it could have been arranged, and like and she saw and she and she knew that she was like they were going to be traveling in this territory with this where the renowned bandit Tojimara
yeah.
Tojimaru would have been, and like that maybe that could have been her chance to get away from that life. Uh, but I like the combative relationship of the husband and wife in Outrage as opposed to Rashomon.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you on that because that it was actually a really funny scene.
Yeah.
We have because and the fact is we actually don't really know what the true story is,
Right.
uh, which is the whole point of Rashomon.
Mm-hmm.
Because Kurosawa talks about like it's because people ask him it's like so what was the real story? It's like that's not the point of the movie.
Exactly. That's not the point of the movie. But
It's
yeah.
just
And also, really quickly, I also like the fact that in the American version, the death was an accident as opposed to what is it? Uh,
being an actual like where
Tojimaro be
Tojimaro
like
killed him.
actually like an actual murder. I think
Yeah,
it
I disagree. I think it's I think to me like I actually like that the fact that it's like the bandit like was like he actually did kill him, but it's
uh-huh.
not in the way that like is portrayed by him or the wife. But we
Okay.
actually like and the thing is we don't know how he actually really was killed like because none of the stories are actually like they could either all be true or like or, parts of them could be true or like none of it's true.
Right. Okay, I definitely see where you're coming from, but I think my preference would still be to the point of like an accident.
The fact that like
Uh,
he fell on like the knife,
yeah,
which is so
exactly.
ridiculous, but it's like God, that would be like it's ridiculous, but it's also funny at the same time.
Right, because um, I mean, regardless, we it's the what is it? Unreliable narrator trope or dilemma, because what is it in the outrage? Um, it's revealed that that the prospector is holding something back, is a liar. So like so we can't really take his word for it either. So for all we know, everything was resolved between the three main parties in the trial, but the prospector was the one to come and like try to steal the knife and kill the husband.
that's the thing we're really not sure about, like,
Mm-hmm.
and he because the con man slash panhandler that from Rashomon slash the Outrage,
Mm-hmm.
they're wondering, like, it's like he's even saying, it's like, yeah, well, what you're saying, like, that's not really true either, like, you're a liar, it's
Mm-hmm.
like, because he lied from the outright too, so we don't, that's the whole point, we don't know who's telling the truth, or if
Mm-hmm.
anything is the truth, or maybe like all parts of all of it are the truth. It's
Right.
like and it's kind of the whole point of like why eyewitness testimony is all kind of garbage.
Right. I mean, it's not saying that it can't be helpful or what is the other word I'm looking for? It not say that eyewitness testimony can't be
Can't be
useful.
useful.
What was it?
That it's not that it can't be useful, but it shouldn't be like the sole reason why
Right. It shouldn't
someone.
be. Yeah. It shouldn't like the case shouldn't rest on the eyewitness testimony.
Well, and the
Um.
fact is, we actually don't know what happened because the bandit in both movies, Carrasco or Tojimaru, we actually don't know the fate of that character.
Right. Because we don't know like if he just gets sentenced to life in jail or if he gets hanged. Um. But I thought it was interesting that well, in both movies, at the end they find a baby, and it's interesting that I find it interesting that the woodcutter in Rashomon and the prospector in the Outrage, both the same character. They're the ones who take the baby, and in a weird way, it's it's like that character's redemption.
Yeah,
It's like yeah, I messed up, but I'm gonna take this baby and I'm gonna raise it right, and I think what is it? Yeah, and I truly believe that that character's redemption.
yeah, and that's I would agree with you on that because they feel because I think that character feels badly because they were kind of a coward initially, like, and they just
Mm-hmm.
didn't want to get involved,
Mm-hmm.
and at the end, like, they could easily say, like, oh, I don't want to get involved, but instead, no, they get involved because there's an innocent life at stake,
Mm-hmm.
and kind of in the same way, with the trial, there was, definitely with the outrage, not necessarily with Rashomon, there was an innocent life involved because, yeah, Carrasco was not an innocent person, but in
Mm-hmm.
this case, he was innocent. He did not kill the guy, but
Mm-hmm.
there, obviously, like, he was very troubled by like what happened and like what he heard,
Mm-hmm.
and by maybe taking this innocent child that would end up dying, he's giving them life because he's rescuing them and he's getting involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. That's perfectly stated.
Um, but yeah, this was, like I was saying when you were going to the bathroom, it's like, I was trying to find like any sort of like info I could find on the outrage because
Mm-hmm.
I found out when we were trying to set this month up. Initially, it
Mm-hmm.
was only gonna be 3 movies that we were gonna do, but because we moved it to a later date, I added this, Rashomon and the outrage, and I couldn't find any fucking info, barely at all, on the movie. Like, outside of, like, yeah, obviously the actors involved, the director, and maybe like a few notes on, like, some, like, on Paul Newman about the movie. But they're really, it's not like how, like, with the movie we're gonna do next week where it was a complete rip off and there was a lawsuit, or
Mm-hmm.
like last week's movie where it was Yul Brenner was so like inspired by the movie that he like, we have to make this in the West.
Mm-hmm.
Like George Lucas seeing Hidden Fortress and like creating this like inspire like oh I I think I can use this to and came up with an idea to create Star Wars. There's no like story behind this other than it's just a remake.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I don't know if like there was a lawsuit or if like Toho was involved or
Mm-hmm.
if like maybe like Kurosawa was involved in like in some way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like
Yeah,
did he
no,
approve?
yeah.
Like did he
In
approve of
my
it?
in my initial research, I couldn't find anything either.
Because I don't, and the the thing is, like, I would love to see like was Kurosawa like did he like approve of like some of this stuff? Did he like it?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know. I know, I know. If Fistful of Dollars, he was probably really fucking pissed. But like with the other movies, like I'd love to know like what were his thoughts. Like I almost would love to see like if someone did like a documentary of him because I think he's
Mm-hmm.
a really fascinating person.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if like there's a biography of him anywhere, but if there is, I would. If someone knows about it, I would love to read it.
Mm. Well, I'm sure there's something. I mean,
There has,
as prolific a director as there ever been, there has to be some sort of documentary or like human interest piece done on him. There just has to be.
yeah. Um, I don't necessarily. I mean, like I said, there's not really any difference. Yeah, as far
Mm-hmm.
as between the two movies, I don't really have anything else to say.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know if there's like any other like scene that you want to like touch on.
Well, actually, just I think the only difference I noticed was like the duel at the end when the prospector slash woodcutter is giving his
That is,
perspective.
it's very different.
The
That part,
American one was a little bit more comedic, whereas the Japanese one it was yeah it was slightly funny because they were it wasn't like this big grand duel where with clanging swords. It looked like two bitches fighting in a Target parking lot.
well, it's funny because as the when you're getting the testimonies, because Tojimaru like says like I crossed swords with him 23 times, and like I was very impressed by him, and
Mm-hmm.
the initial stories were like there was always like this like kind of like big like clash between them,
Mm-hmm.
but then like when supposedly like what people believe is like oh this is the true story
Mm-hmm.
was like the woodcutter's perspective. It was that like it was a complete fucking shit show of a
Yeah,
fight.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it
Um,
wasn't like as comedic as that in the outrage, but yeah, I think that's. But I think it was a little bit more serious in Rashomon as opposed to the outrage, where
no,
like in the outrage it was Looney Tunes esque.
yeah, right. Yeah, that is true. Rashomon is definitely the more serious movie because there's a lot more comedy, I believe, in the outrage.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Maybe done on purpose. I don't know, but Rashomon is a much more serious movie.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. But that's it for me.
Yeah, same for me. I don't really have anything else to say. So I guess we should give our ratings then.
All right.
Andy, you go first.
All right. You know what? I'm gonna give both of these movies a 4.
We are going to differ wildly on these.
Okay.
Um, so to me, like what also while I was saying while you were in the bathroom, I really
Uh
felt like the actors from Rashomon, outside of Edward G. Robinson, Edward G.
huh.
Robinson was brilliant in The Outrage. Like he
Mm.
was my favorite character in the movie.
He did
Um,
steal the show.
everyone else fucking acted circles around people in the Outrage, and yes, I'm a Paul Newman fan. I love pretty much everything that he's in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he was good in this movie. He was. But everyone else like acted circles around these people. Like Toshiro Mifune was way better than Paul Newman.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, to what's his face?
Takashi
Takeshi.
Shimura.
Yeah, he was better than the Prospector. Um, and even the priest, who you'll remember from both Hidden Fortress and Samurai.
Uh-huh.
I forget his name right now, but he was better than William Shatner.
Mm-hmm.
The female lead in Rashomon was better than the female
Yeah, Claire Bloom in The Outrage. Mm-hmm.
and I would even say that the guy the husband was better than what is it, Lawrence Harvey in
Yeah.
The Outrage.
Mm-hmm.
I liked his performance better than Lawrence
All
Harvey.
right.
And
Okay.
I'm a Lawrence Harvey fan. He's good in like everything I've seen him in. I've liked him.
Mm-hmm.
So like I said, overall, I think the acting was way better in Rashomon. So I had to give Rashomon a 4.5, and this is actually the very first Kurosawa film I've ever seen was Rashomon.
Mm-hmm.
And The Outrage, I'd have to give it 2.5.
Wow. Okay.
It's a good movie. It's interesting, but
Mm-hmm.
it's Rashomon is way better.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I didn't think you were gonna go that low though.
It's just don't get me wrong. I love William Shatner. I love Paul Newman. I love Edward G. Robinson. I like Lawrence Harvey. I like everyone involved. But it's just I even like the director. I like Martin Ritt. He's good too. But this movie was just not. There was a lot of problems. It's to me The Outrage is a very flawed movie, whereas Rashomon is much more polished.
Okay. All right. Oh, really quick. I was trying to figure out what this. I was trying to figure out the significance of uh, the the dilapidated gate in Rashomon. And then also like why like an abandoned train station. I think
Well,
I think I have to sit on it just a little bit longer. But I mean, do you have any thoughts about why?
I actually do have some thoughts on that because I don't have anything specific, but I'm thinking like what Kurosawa was thinking of
Mm-hmm.
was more because all the characters there, like you have the pan, kind of like the panhandler, you have like the priest and the woodcutter who are pretty much like rejected about humanity, and so being like city gate that is, and probably like a city that like Rashomon was. It was the city gate that had been destroyed possibly, and so it's kind of this idea of like they have abandoned humanity because of like what these three characters have. The panhandler had already abandoned humanity a long time ago, but the
Mm-hmm.
priest and the woodcutter, they had probably felt like like after watching this case, they felt like that humanity was like we they had given up on like human nature and like the goodness of it.
Mm.
Um, and kind of the same thing with like the obviously like the there wasn't rain at the in the Outrage. It was at this kind of like abandoned like train station almost.
Well,
But
it
the
did
Outrage,
rain, but then it stopped towards the end.
I guess the rain. Maybe I missed that in the Outrage. The rain was
Mm.
definitely more pronounced in Rashomon.
Right, yeah. The rain in Rashomon was pretty constant up until like the very end when like they found the baby. Whereas
Right.
in the Outrage, the rain stopped kind of towards like the middle.
Right, yeah, and that's maybe I missed the rain part in the initially. But I think it's the idea of this like abandoned train station. It's also people that had like were either outcast, like Edward G. Robinson's character, the con man,
Mm-hmm.
and William Shatner's character, and I forget who played the prospector, but they
Mm-hmm.
had kind of given up on humanity from what they had seen, and it's kind of this
Yeah.
idea of they are at these places because no one else is there, and they're trying to just like I don't know if they're in the case of Rashomon, like they're kind of just like they're at this place that like yeah, it's abandoned, but like they're waiting out the rain to like kind of continue on their journey to get the fuck out of like wherever they were at.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of the same thing like with the train station. We're waiting on the train to get the hell out of there, to go to like a town or just like to be somewhere different. And I think that's kind of like the point of the movie. Whereas, at the end, the panhandler slash con man, they're still the same person. Whereas the woodcutter slash prospector and the priest have their humanity, like their perspective on humanity has been restored through the
Mm.
baby.
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
Um, and I think that that's kind of like the idea that Kurosawa was going with. I really think that that was the point of the film, not necessarily like, on like what the truth of the case, but because like I said, we're given like wildly different eyewitness accounts. If it was more of a court movie, we
Mm-hmm.
would probably had like more of like where it was like mainly focused on the court, not necessarily just like them recount these people recounting the story of the court case.
Right.
And I think that was the point that the movie was going for.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I think Rashomon did it better, but the Outrage had its moments too. Like and I gave out the Outrage 2.5, but that doesn't mean it's a bad movie. It's just like when I'm comparing the two, like the Outrage is like way worse than Rashomon. I would recommend Rashomon over the Outrage every time.
All right. Okay. Well, there you have it. That's our review of Rashomon and the Outrage. Not to confuse that as like an '80s rock band.
Yeah,
Rashomon and the Outrage. No,
if
but
anyone has some stories,
Rashomon, period, the Outrage,
yeah.
period.
If anyone
Uh,
has like if they have any knowledge about the Outrage with Paul Newman and like Martin Ritt as the director and like some stories behind the movie, I would love to know them. Please send them our direction because I
mm.
really don't know. I couldn't find anything, so please send it our way. I would love to like read or listen to something about it.
Yeah, just leave a link in the comments. All right. Well, yeah, that'll do it for you. That's our review tonight. I'll switch around. The Outrage and Rashomon. I give both a 4. Robert gives Rashomon a 4.5, and the Outrage a 2.5. Definitely worth your while. You should watch them, particularly Rashomon. Rashomon is great. Um, so yeah, add it to your queue. All right. With that, that'll brings us to the end of the stream for tonight. I thank you for joining us. I hope there weren't too many technical difficulties for you guys to bear. I think maybe the playback is what cut out on our end. So because when I refreshed, I kept refreshing the page every time we got that notice, and it would just start. It just starts whatever it left off. So hopefully that means that the stream kept going even though that we weren't able to see it.
Yeah.
But I'll check. I'll check back after this live stream's been archived, and if it keeps crapping out, then we'll take it down and then we'll upload the separately recorded copy of this episode.
Yeah. And
Uh,
next week for the movie review, you guys are into for a fantastic set of movies with Yojimbo and Fistful of Dollars.
oh yeah, that's yeah. Yojimbo is probably my favorite Kurosawa film.
Yeah, I mean, I can't separate Yojimbo and Sanjuro.
Mm-hmm.
Those they're like number 7 on my like top 10 list. I mean, it's fucking amazing.
Mm, absolutely. All right. Well, there you have it, folks. That'll do it for us tonight. I hope you were enjoyed. I had a good time. Rob always has a good time.
Dude, I'm
Uh,
good.
yeah, don't forget to check out the
I'm really good.
All right, don't forget to check out the library of other content we have. The Circle of Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and Letterboxd at PodcastCOJ and Instagram at Circle of Jerks Podcast. We thank you for this. We thank you for joining us, and we'll do it all again next week.
Sounds like a plan to me.